Rupert Murdoch is a business magnate and a media mogul who has significantly impacted the media industry and politics in several countries. Born in Australia in 1931, Murdoch inherited his father's newspaper business in Adelaide and quickly expanded into the Australian and New Zealand newspaper markets. In the late 1960s, he moved to the UK and acquired The News of the World and The Sun, two influential British tabloids. In the following decades, he expanded into the US market and acquired several major newspapers and television networks, including the Wall Street Journal and Fox News. With a net worth of over 20 billion USD, Murdoch is one of the world's wealthiest and most powerful media figures. He has been credited with revolutionizing the newspaper industry through using new technologies and aggressive business tactics. However, Murdoch's career has also been plagued by controversies and scandals, including allegations of phone hacking, bribery, and biased and misleading coverage by his newspapers and television channels. His newspapers and television channels have been accused of promoting his business interests and political allies. Some have credited his influence with major political developments in the UK, the US, and Australia. Murdoch's business strategies were also often criticized for the way he treated workers, particularly when he consolidated his UK printing operations in London, causing bitter industrial disputes. Despite the controversies and scandals surrounding Murdoch's career, he has remained a powerful and influential figure in the media industry. He continues to own and control a significant portion of the media landscape through his company, the News Corp. Newspapers and television channels owned by the News Corp continue to be major sources of news and information for millions worldwide. Rupert Murdoch is a complex and controversial figure who has had a significant impact on the media industry and on politics in several countries. His influence and power as a media mogul will continue to be studied and debated for years to come. Rupert Murdoch's early career began in 1952 when he inherited his father's small newspaper business, the News Corp Australia, in Adelaide, Australia. At the time, he was just 21 years old and fresh out of Oxford University. Despite his youth, Murdoch quickly took control of the newspaper and expanded its reach and influence. In the 1950s and 1960s, Murdoch acquired a number of newspapers in Australia and New Zealand, including the Adelaide News, the Sunday Mail, and the Sydney Daily Mirror. He was known for his aggressive business tactics and his willingness to take risks. These acquisitions helped to establish him as a powerful figure in the Australian media landscape. In 1969, Murdoch made a bold move by expanding into the UK market. He acquired The News of the World and quickly followed it up with the acquisition of The Sun. These purchases were controversial as Murdoch was seen as an outsider in the UK media industry, and many people were skeptical of his ability to succeed. Despite the skepticism, Murdoch quickly proved his worth. He used his experience in the Australian media market to shake up the UK newspaper industry, introducing new technologies and modernizing the way newspapers were produced and distributed. He also expanded the reach of The Sun and The News of the World, increasing their circulation and making them some of the most widely read newspapers in the UK. Murdoch's early career was marked by aggressive business tactics and a willingness to take risks. His expansion into the UK and US markets was not without challenges, but he was able to win and establish himself as a powerful figure in the media industry. His early career set the foundation for the media empire that he would continue to build in the following decades. Rupert Murdoch's expansion into the US market began in 1974 when he moved to New York City, with the goal of establishing a foothold in the American media industry. At the time, he was already a successful media mogul in the UK and Australia, but the US market was a different beast altogether. Already in 1973, before his move to New York City, Murdoch acquired the San Antonio Express newspaper in Texas to launch his business ventures in the USA. This acquisition was his first entry into the US newspaper market and helped him establish a foothold in the American media landscape. The newspaper was later sold in 1993 as part of a larger divestiture of assets. Nevertheless, he was determined to make his mark in the US and began to acquire more newspapers and television networks. In 1985, Murdoch became a naturalized US citizen, giving up his Australian citizenship to satisfy the legal requirement for US television network ownership. This allowed him to acquire Fox, the fourth largest commercial broadcast television network in the United States. He also acquired the Wall Street Journal to get a foothold in the US business news segment. Murdoch's expansion into the US market was not without challenges. He faced intense competition from established media companies and was often criticized for his aggressive business tactics. However, he was able to overcome these challenges and establish a strong presence in the American media landscape. In addition to his newspaper and television acquisitions, Murdoch also invested in new technologies that would help him to reach a wider audience. He was an early adopter of digital media and was one of the first media moguls to recognize the potential of the internet. He invested in digital platforms and helped to pave the way for the future of media. In the end, Murdoch's expansion into the US market was a success. He established a strong presence in the American media landscape and helped to shape the way that the news and information was consumed in the United States. Success in the USA helped him to build an amazing net worth of 22 billion USD. Rupert Murdoch's career has been plagued by controversies and scandals, many of which have centered around allegations of unethical and illegal behavior by his newspapers and television channels. One of the most significant controversies was the 2011 phone hacking scandal involving his British newspaper, News of the World. It was revealed that the newspaper had been hacking the phones of celebrities, politicians, and even crime victims in order to obtain exclusive stories. This led to widespread public outrage and called for Murdoch to take responsibility for the actions of his newspapers. As a result of phone hacking scandal, Murdoch faced police and government investigations in the UK and the US. In 2012, he resigned as a director of News International, the British subsidiary of News Corp, and was forced to close the News of the World. The scandal also led to several high-profile arrests and convictions, including those of several Murdoch's top executives. Another significant controversy involving Murdoch's media empire was the 2012 bribery scandal involving the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FCPA. The FCPA is a law that prohibits US companies and citizens from bribing foreign officials. The scandal broke when it was revealed that the News Corp had been paying bribes to officials in various countries in order to gain access to valuable resources, such as licenses and contracts. The scandal led to investigations by the US Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission. In addition to these controversies, Murdoch's media empire has also been criticized for biased and misleading coverage that supports his business interests and political allies. Many of his newspapers and television channels have been accused of promoting a conservative political agenda and of being sympathetic to right-wing politicians. Murdoch's influence on politics has also been widely debated. Some have credited him with having a significant influence on political decisions in the UK, the US, and Australia, particularly through his ownership of influential newspapers and television channels. In conclusion, Murdoch's career as a media mogul has been marked by significant achievements and controversies. He has built a media empire that spans several countries and has had a profound impact on the media industry and on politics. He has been credited with revolutionizing the newspaper industry through his use of new technologies and aggressive business tactics, and his newspapers and television channels have been major sources of news and information for millions of people around the world. Despite controversies and scandals, Murdoch's influence on the media industry and on politics remains significant. He continues to own and control a significant portion of the media landscape, and his newspapers and television channels continue to be major sources of news and information for millions of people around the world. The story of Rupert Murdoch is a complex one, marked by both successes and failures, but his impact on the media and political landscape is undeniable. Thank you for watching.